I'm Brittany Moore and welcome to my living room. I'm excited to be a part of this virtual conference on the journey towards customer-centric growth and to be speaking to you specifically about customer success. I am a Gainsight certified customer success manager or CSM, and I also am a customer success expert. I have years of experience working with both enterprise and SMB environments in both the sales, including pre and post sales, and also technical realm. In my years of being a customer success manager, I've really been fascinated by the role and wanting to learn as much as I can from my own experiences, from my peers, and from industry experts. And once the COVID pandemic hit and then started impacting myself and my clients and my peers, I've really become very interested in what are the lessons that we can learn from this time. I think that so much is still up in the air, but what we do know is that customers will remember the companies that stood up and helped, the companies that tried to be flexible and help improve their lot, as opposed to the companies who didn't. And I am dedicated to becoming the customer success manager and supporting my own customers in this unprecedented time and wade through the waters together and with all of you listening. So that's exactly what my presentation is going to cover, how we can really leverage this crisis, never waste a crisis, and all of these lessons and tips and tools that I'm seeing and personally using, and hopefully that can be helpful to you. So I hope that you enjoy my presentation and stay till the end because I have a special giveaway. You know that Charles Dickens quote, "It was the best of times and it was the worst of times"? Well, it seems like more like just the worst. With a life-threatening medical pandemic that's fundamentally changed society and work as we know it, a looming economic recession, millions filing for unemployment each week. Why am I talking to you about customer success now, with all of the challenges that your business is facing? 4 words: never waste a crisis. This was actually a phrase that came about in 1976, and it was published in the Journal of Medical Economics by Dr. M.F. Weiner, where he said, "Don't waste a crisis of your patient's or your own." By this, he meant that a medical crisis can be used to improve aspects of someone's personality, mental health, or even lifestyle. Likewise, I believe businesses can learn and improve even in these tumultuous times. Whenever there's a crisis, the really successful companies use them as opportunities to expand their market share or to seed future investments. And in a pandemic of this size, with this level of impact, I propose that this is the only way forward. Luckily, billionaire investor Ray Dalio agrees with me, and he stated that the coronavirus marks the start of a new future. He said that understanding your thinking skills or using digital support mechanisms for thinking would be the most valuable skill. He also calls this time a wonderful revolution, and a time where the capacity to think and use that thinking in a new way is the absolute most treasured thing in this future. The start of a new future, not just for the global economy at large, but for your customers. I believe we can't use traditional models any longer. Of course, for your business to stay in business, you need to generate revenue. But there's a different way to do that. And the CEO of a product that I use every day as a CSM, Gainsight, Nick Mehta, released an article last month where he talked about the ways that COVID-19 is fundamentally changing SaaS forever. In it, he says the majority of SaaS companies, including many of those that are transitioning from on-premises to cloud models, still put sales at the center of their business model. New sales, he means. They largely assume that the existing customers will take care of themselves, as they did in the old on-premises software days. And yes, that's the most common traditional way to grow revenue or to maintain revenue is through selling. Now, sales is a tough job, but it's even harder in a life-threatening pandemic with no real end in sight. And without a customer success plan focused on extraordinary customer experiences, getting new sales can feel like pouring water in a bucket with holes in it. According to Precision Marketing Group, the cost of acquiring a new customer dramatically outweighs those of retaining an existing customer by 9 times greater, or upselling a customer by 4 times greater. So what is really the best use of your organization's resources in these turbulent times? Keeping customers, of course, has everything to do with their experience with you. A Bain & Company survey found that 80% of CEOs believed that they were delivering a superior customer experience. Sadly, only a dismal 8% of customers agreed with them. Now, the job of customer success is to bring these two metrics closer together, to bridge the gap. And we all know experiences that leave us underwhelmed. Take something as simple as gum, for instance. Someone pulls out a pack of gum, they hand you a piece, you take one, and at first it tastes great. The flavor is bold and fresh and strong, and then 30 seconds later, you find yourself chewing a bland wad of elasticity, kind of like a cow chewing their own regurgitated curd. That moment when the flavor fades, that moment of being disappointed, that moment of being underwhelmed on something that you were promised. In customer success, we call that moment post-sales frustration, and it leads to our least favorite event, customer churn or defections. So as hard as you work to get that sale, all of that effort is wasted when a customer is disappointed and does not renew. To avoid this from happening to you, I believe a shift in perspective is necessary. Now, in sales, we are racing against a clock, and the goal is to get to the finish line, that precious moment when a customer pulls out their credit card and hands it over for payment. And of course, we want to do this as many times as possible, as fast as possible, for as much money as possible. But in customer success, we look at the other side of that finish line. Customer success is about the long-term journey that a customer has with your organization. That journey is longer than a few months, it's longer than any one sales cycle, and it's longer than a pandemic. Customer success cares about metrics like customer churn or defection rate, meaning customers who buy and then choose to leave you, customers who choose to spend less with you over time, renewals, net retention score, out of all the customers you're gaining and losing, how many overall are you keeping? Expansion rate, this is the amount of up and cross sells that you give to existing customer. Promoter score. How happy are your customers with you? And the most important metric of all, increasing total lifetime value of a customer. This is how you increase revenue from a long-term invested customer base. Another investor, Gavin Baker, astutely observed at the beginning of this crisis that there's no such thing as truly recurring revenue. Some revenue is just more recurring than others. By that, he meant that we can't take our customers for granted, and we definitely can't do that now in a crisis. Ignoring our long-term customer success is at the detriment of any company. That means not just assuming that renewals will happen automatically, but spending time, money, resources, building a methodology to ensure that renewals happen. Customer success is about building and maintaining customer relationships that are mutually beneficial for both your company and your customers. And the thing about relationships is they all go through good and hard times. There's so much that we don't know about the current circumstances, but what we do know for sure is that customers are going to remember who stepped up and helped and who didn't, which companies reached out and which didn't, which companies tried to be flexible and helpful and which were rigid and unaccommodating. There will be so many lessons from these times, but your actions now will impact your customer's point of view and ultimately your bottom line. Nowadays, customers are more empowered than ever. They're more vocal than ever, and they have a longer memory. This is perfectly demonstrated in a tweet that I saw. It said, "Airlines are sending me, we're in this together emails, but when my suitcase was 52 pounds, I was on my own." Customers remember their experiences with you. They remember the way they were treated all throughout this journey. Bain & Company survey found that a just 5% increase in customer retention rates could potentially yield an increase anywhere from 25 to 95%. Customer success is important because it impacts your bottom line, your ability to stay and grow in business. So how do you address it? What makes a good customer success strategy? First, I want to tell you what it's not. For a moment, I want you to step back, think back to the good old days. You know, those pre-quarantine days when we went to things called restaurants. And for those of you who have forgotten, this was a place where you would sit down, you'd have a menu, you'd choose what you want, and a waiter would come and bring you your food. If that waiter was any good at all, they would come back and ask, "How does your burger taste? Was it medium well as you liked? Or how does your drink taste, even though it has this weird bell pepper in it?" They might even ask, "Would you like another weird bell pepper drink?" trying to upsell you on your existing investment. Or, "Did you happen to save room for our world famous baked Alaska?" trying to cross-sell you. A customer success manager, or CSM, as a waiter in this analogy, is really nothing more than an order taker. They're measured on their speed and accuracy, but there's really no critical thinking or problem solving involved. It's not proactive and it's not predictive. So what is the next level? I believe that strategic customer success is more like sitting down with a nutritionist. Someone who learns about your specific fitness goals, your family history, reviews your latest round of blood work. They calculate your metabolic rate. They learn about allergies or vitamin deficiencies or supplements that you might need. Together, they work with you to create the best diet or exercise plan that will work for your unique body and your goals, based on your timeline and your lifestyle. And then they fine-tune that plan with you as things change. In these times, performing generic canned conversations not only doesn't work, but it can backfire. If there was ever a time to personalize or convey human-to-human messaging, focusing on customer retention through strengthening relationships, now is that time. Once this crisis is over, it'll be easier to upsell and drive revenue from a customer base that you maintained, instead of needing to acquire new customers all over again. Thankfully, though, your company doesn't have to start from scratch. Even though this crisis has changed so much of the way business works, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to customer experience and customer success. Instead, you can use existing customer success strategies. There are two tools that I want to highlight today that customer success managers already know. It's teamwork and segmentation. Again, all being done with the focus on retention over new sales or new revenue, as much as your business can financially tolerate. I believe that it's better to keep customers and upsell them later than need to start all over from scratch and needing to sell new once this pandemic is over. So let's take a look at customer segmentation. Segmentation is a tried and true tool of customer success. The act of looking at your customers as a whole and with data, prioritizing, slicing into your customer base, dividing them into manageable pieces. This helps you create a unique customer journey, customer success plan, or dictate a more relevant plan of action or agenda for business reviews once you understand the challenges that your customers are facing. This also helps grow customers in ways that are more personalized and germane for them. This is more like being a nutritionist and less like being a waiter or an order taker. I'm very impressed with the collateral that's coming out of Zora. This is an article that I have linked below where they go over customer segmentation for COVID-19. Break customers down into 4 segments based on the different ways that COVID-19 has impacted different industries. There are those who are accelerating, like over-the-top video streaming, digital news and media, e-learning, communication software, healthcare, and online gaming. Those who are actually contracting, like travel, transportation, restaurants, brick and mortar retailers, those who are slowing, and those who have a limited impact by COVID-19. Helping us understand the way our customers are experiencing this pandemic is critical to maintaining and strategically growing revenue where you can. Now, we all know that customer success is a team sport. It takes everyone working together. And in this pandemic, working with new or existing team members in different ways is critical. I want to highlight 2 team members that customer success managers should be working with during this time: sellers and finance. Now, sellers, I believe, can be repurposed during this economic recession to help as an extension of customer success. They can personally reach out to customers to gather information. They can do virtual lunch and learns, or grabbing coffee, or just having a conversation with a customer to get an understanding of the lay of the land, to learn how COVID-19 has impacted them, which will help you with your segmentation. Because sellers aren't typically involved in customer success, they can bring a fresh perspective on tasks and projects around reviewing customer journey maps, or doing value streaming. It can help revamp what customer journey and success looks like now that COVID has changed a customer's perspective or situation. I believe they're also valuable in brainstorming and testing new and evolving ways that customer experience will be different because of this pandemic. They can help be a futurist and think strategically of how to be successful in this new world. Bringing more people to the table for these discussions is critical. As Darwin said, it's not the strongest species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. I believe working together, getting different, diverse opinions is critical to being flexible and adaptive during these times. Now, let's take a look at finance. Coming to the table in a new and different way, we can work with finance to come up with creative solutions for our customers. I believe this should be based on segmentation and modeling of what concessions your company can afford to make during these times in order to invest in the long-term survival and retention of customers. For customers who are slowing and contracting, having deferrals or adjusted pay terms, extending pay periods. These offerings can be critical for companies who are weathering the worst of the COVID pandemic, and they can again help you focus on retention over revenue. We can work with sellers to identify who and when to communicate financial offerings to for the customers who were truly negatively impacted by this pandemic. The goal is to focus on customer experience and customer success like never before. I believe it's key to maintaining successful business even during these challenging times. As a Gainsight certified CSM, I've worked extensively in enterprise and SMB environments, managing customers, working with them both pre and post sales and in technical roles. I've nurtured long-term, multi-year customer relationships, and I've worked with major companies to help them understand what customer success looks like for them. But like everyone else, I'm learning as much as I can during these times and trying to share what I'm learning. There are lots of tools and companies that can help you implement and fine-tune a customer success strategy during these challenging times, and Good Feather Solutions is definitely one of them. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my presentation. I really hope that it was helpful and that you were able to learn something new through the content. Now, the giveaway. 2 lucky winners will be receiving a free 2-hour consultation with one of the great customer success consulting firms that can really help you understand where you are in your customer journey and how you can really put into place a lot of these strategies and tools that I mentioned earlier, and how you can really see those become super relevant for your business, where you are right now, and the way that COVID has impacted your customers as well. So 2 lucky winners will have that, but everyone is a winner. And just for making it to the end of this video, you are ultimately going to receive access to a personalized, quarantined customer success care package that I've curated. This is filled with tips and tricks, short videos and a bit longer, that talk about how specifically this pandemic has impacted and will impact customer success. And there's also a really great 22-minute interview that I conducted with the leader of customer success in Europe, where we talk about, I think, the most relevant topic, which is around evolution and how do we stay nimble and flexible and adaptive to our changing environment. And that couldn't be more true as this pandemic continues to unfold and in the time of so much uncertainty. So I know that that quarantine package will be incredibly helpful as you continue to navigate these uncharted and often unprecedented times that we're living in. If you want to keep in contact with me, I invite you to follow me on LinkedIn. And you can follow my YouTube channel, where I not only have quarantined customer success tips and tricks, but also general customer success and customer experience content for you to get up to speed or do a refresher or even just learn from a different perspective. Ultimately, I hope that you and your family are staying safe and healthy during these times, and I wish you continued growth and success for both yourself and your business.